Here's something nobody talks about or isn't talked about too much. For those of us who have been through trauma, extreme trauma, we're talking violence, psychological abuse, drugs, prison, violence in the home, homelessness, you name it. Anything that really just um, rewired the entire nervous system. If I had the ability to rewrite the way I had done this in the very beginning. And maybe, who knows, if I had had somebody tell me these things, perhaps, perhaps my direction might have been a little bit easier. Now, naturally, we can say, okay, it all happened and unfolded exactly the way it was supposed to be. Sure. But I think for us, it's important to reprioritize what we're doing in this awakening, what we put right at the top. And I know for me that I needed relief. I needed relief from any and everything that was um, keeping me in complete and total discomfort. And there was some that was very obvious to me, and then some was very, very, very hidden, was buried deep down inside. So when I first got hip to the notion of enlightenment and awakening, and I read all the descriptions and I heard all the things, of course, it had a massive appeal, like a massive, massive um, pull to I'm going to feel better. I'm going to, there's going to be states of bliss. I looked at teachers that looked very happy or calm or stable. Stable was the big one. I saw interviews where people had just come out of a Ken show or an Aperture opening, and they looked so joyous and free, and I wanted all of that. So that became my goal. And then I read and watched videos and consumed all sorts of information and content. And by and large, what was being shared with me were what we would call the classic steps. Things like meditation, things like inquiry, things that had steps in them, things that we were supposed to deny, things that the messages like attachment is bad, ego is bad, all the messages. You'll have your own. You'll have your own messages. This is spiritual. That's not spiritual. And then I began to apply remedies. What I didn't see and what I had to deal with years later, and I'm still unraveling, unpacking, regulating my nervous system to this day, was the priority wasn't to apply pressure, to do all of these spiritual steps. Those could be there. Those could definitely be there. But my priority was one that I was not even on my radar in any way, shape, or form. Just fucking take care of myself. Look at the food I was eating. Look at the messages that I was telling myself. Look into the messages of possible shame. To look at and see what in my day caused me reactivity. But by and large, and especially, I think men more so than women. But I mean, I could be, obviously, I'm making a bit of a generalization. I think men tough it out. We have to be strong. We have to do this. We have to provide. Right? All of this stuff that we're trained. And I suppose in a pure hunter gatherer or combat setting, or if you're on the medieval crusade, these things are beneficial. If you're a Navy SEAL, these things are beneficial. But if you're Norm and you work in insurance, not so much. The message that I was getting was that it was not okay to look at things like my inner child. And I assure you, we all have that inner child. To look at where I hurt, to look at where I felt small and wounded, to look at the shame around maybe things I had done based on my conditioning and patterns. as a person who's experienced trauma. To learn to give myself a pass, to learn to love myself. As corny as it sounds, fucking self-care. And that just goes completely against everything we're trained. We're trained, I'm not doing this right. My meditation isn't good enough. I have to do it this way. This guy over here, he's got it down. That girl over there, that lady over there, look at how peaceful she is. I must be fucking this up. I must be failing. And I don't know that I see enough of this giving of the past, this leaning into being so gentle with ourselves. As a man, if you're listening to this, say that to yourself. Does it feel weird? I'm going to be gentle with myself. I'm going to love my inner child. For some, it might. It's going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. What are you saying? You know, what, no, I can't do that. Or some version thereof. We're trained. But I assure you, I got in touch with this and continue to have to touch in and carry little Teddy. And then little Teddy takes care of me. And we go back and forth. And then I have my support group that sees little Teddy. And he has to be taken care of. Because part of us is always that innocent child. Part of us has always got that, whether, I don't care how far down it's buried. I don't care how much conditioning is on top of it. I don't care how hard and fierce we think we've gotten. That little child is still in there. And it wants love. And it wants attention. And it wants to be told it's okay to rest. It's okay to cry. It's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay to gently say no. It's okay to receive love. It's okay to be loved. It's okay to feel wounded. It's okay to not have the answer. It's okay to not have a solution. It's okay to have a shitty meditation. It's okay to fail miserably at inquiry. So for us, I did not mean to leave the women out of this. I just happened to be a man and happened to know the very specific messages. We give ourselves a pass. Man, like, why not? Why not? Like, ask yourself that question. If not, then why? Says who? Says who? I've experienced this any number of times. Sometimes, many times in the beginning, it was subconscious, and even then, when it was the awareness of what this was doing and what it felt like was brought into consciousness. I was aware of it, and it still showed up of this mental rigidity of these forms that I took. And nowhere at any point in time did I ever feel like I could stop my inquiry. I could set down the YouTube videos and spend a few moments just breathing, or go outside and let the sun hit my face, or treat myself to a little, I don't know, whatever. My favorite's milk and cookies. So milk and cookies, and you have your own. And I feel like this message is going to be peppered, embedded, ingrained in any video that I put in one form or another. Because without that pass, we're holding ourselves to standards that we did not sign up for, we did not ask for. Many of them we didn't need. We're carrying the shame of what we might have done. We're not bringing any type of love or forgiveness, not only to ourselves, but to life. There's almost no openness there if you're just angry that your meditation didn't go right. If so-and-so is at stage 5 of awakening and you're not, they look more awake than you. And for me, I held myself to such a rigid structure that how could I possibly move around in that? Everything is black and white. I gave myself no room for gray area. And that's been a theme that's come up with me and in my relationships with my partners. This thing of Trauma makes us see in black and white. Fear and shame makes us see in black and white. And it's either this or that. For example, my meditation has to be this long and has to go really well, or I have to get this much done by a certain time, or I have to inquire and I should be this far along, or I had a bad day and I felt completely unenlightened. And it's always an extreme. So therefore, I will put in and apply another extreme remedy. But there's no room in that for the middle ground. What about stacking small wins in just your day-to-day life? Today, I spent 10 minutes less on the phone. Today, I spent 5 extra minutes in quiet. Today, I did one thing. And it might seem that some of this stuff I'm saying, I don't know, I'm just covering all my bases here, would seem exact opposite of what we're being told. How does this apply to awakening? How does this apply? How's this even relevant to non-duality? What does this have to do with anything? It's because you're in that body, and that body got trained, and that body went through stuff. And the self-hatred that I applied to myself, and I watch it on those around me, the people I talk to, even people that aren't in this, just going to work, talking to coworkers. They haven't been traumatized. Maybe they have a milder version of it, but it's a self-doubt and it's a self-hatred. And they didn't put that there. It was trained into them. So slowly, we learn to regulate the nervous system. I would recommend there's all sorts of stuff out there. I don't know that I'm the expert on how to regulate a nervous system. I know what works for me. But we regulate that nervous system. We gently, sometimes ruthlessly, but we gently examine the messages that come up, the things that we believe are absolute, like activity A, B, or C isn't spiritual, or I'm not good enough, or everyone else is going to get it but me. And we're not going to see all of them at once. I saw through a few in the beginning. I saw through some in the middle. Later on, I found some that were deeply buried that until it was time for them to be revealed, I didn't see. I couldn't see at all. So, man, be fucking gentle with yourself. And if you can't, gently ask yourself, why not? What's the urgency? Where are you trying to go? Because the peace that I was trying to find was never going to land in a big peak moment. And I had a million peak moments, and they all came and went, and they were amazing. They were really amazing. You see through the veil, self dissolves, unity consciousness. You see all of it. And then when it doesn't stick, when the trauma pushes it out, heartbreaking, and then you're crushed. And then the subsequent messages of I've failed show up all over again because those were never addressed. So my thought, if it was up to me, and it's not, of course, I would reprioritize into giving ourselves a pass, into self-care, into self-love. And then, not in a timeline, not like do that first and then inquire or meditate or watch videos or go to retreats. We're talking about an order of importance. Prioritize and look at the places where we're still punishing ourselves. A common theme for me that I bring up, the remembrance that I didn't break me. I didn't do this. I didn't train me as a child. I didn't abuse me as a child. Now, there were things that I did later on, but even those were a direct result of how my system was wired. And so without regulating that nervous system to one degree or another in a very gentle way, because I just went through a period of being so fucking fierce with myself. that if I felt like I was going to break. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. It's terrible. I think I put myself through more distress than was necessary. Seems like we do that a lot, right? I know there's tons of resources out there. Look at stuff about self-care. As corny as it sounds and as completely not in the awakening arena as it sounds, I think we give ourselves the pass to use any and everything at our disposal to gently learn to love ourselves again, and then inquire, and then meditate. The cool thing is you get to custom design it. I'm just here to share my 2 cents on it. Sort of looking back, and was it really necessary that I was that fierce with myself? I don't think so. So be blessed.